A woman named Meg Altman moves into a new apartment in New York City with her 11-year-old daughter, Sarah. The house is 4 stories tall and was previously owned by a reclusive millionaire. It contains a panic room on one of the upper floors. The real estate agent shows them the panic room and explains its features. The panic room is fortified with concrete and steel, has a thick metal door, and features an advanced security system with surveillance cameras. Sarah explores the space, intrigued. Later that evening, Meg and Sarah sit at the dining to eat pizza and drink as they talk. Night comes and they settle into their new home. Meg walks around the empty rooms while Sarah reads in bed. They both prepare to sleep. Meg turns off the lights and heads to her bedroom. Sarah sleeps on the upper floor. The house is quiet, and suddenly, 3 men approach their frontage from outside, and one of them climbs up to the top floor and quietly enters through the door. He comes back to the back door to open it up for the other guys, Junior and Raoul. Junior, the grandson of the previous owner, is joined by Burnham, who previously worked with the security company that installed the panic room, and Raoul, a masked accomplice carrying a weapon. They begin navigating the house silently. Inside, Meg lies asleep. Burnham tells Junior that there are people in the house, but he says they are not supposed to be there. They make their way to the floor where the panic room is located. Meg awakens to use the toilet, and she senses something is off. Then she sees that she forgot to turn off the lights in the panic room as she goes to turn it off. She sees the 3 men inside the house on the live feed monitor. Alarmed, she returns quickly to get Sarah. Meg grabs Sarah and pulls her out of bed. She tells her to come quickly. They run through the hallway. The men hear the movement above. Meg and Sarah dash toward the panic room, but Raoul is right in front of them. They rush into the elevator and head down, and Sarah sends the elevator back up, and the men rush up the stairs. Just as the intruders reach the hallway, Meg and Sarah lock themselves inside the panic room, sealing the steel door behind them. They pound on the door but cannot get in. Meg tries to call for help. She checks the panic room's phone line, but before she could call, Burnham quickly disables the call line from Meg's room, inside. They check the monitors and watch the men as they argue. She uses the panic room's intercom to speak to them and asks them what they want. They write on a paper saying, "What we want is in that room." Junior becomes visibly anxious. Burnham starts to seal the doors of the house. Raoul joins him. Later, Raoul and Junior tries to get into the panic room from the bottom by breaking the wall below it, but Burnham tells them not to waste their time because there's a thick steel shielding the panic room. Burnham then gets a gas cylinder from outside. He locates the vent leading to the panic room, and he connects a pipe to it to gas them out. Meg asks Sarah to get down on the ground, and she tries to seal the vent with duct tape, but Raoul insists on increasing the pressure. As Burnham argues with him, Meg takes a blanket to cover herself and Sarah, and then she takes a lighter and strikes it, and fire immediately explodes, hurting Junior badly. Later, Sarah sees a small hole with which she is able to see a neighbor's room. They take a flashlight and signals to the neighbor with an SOS signal, but the neighbor wakes up and closes his curtains as they scream for help. As the men argue, Burnham tries to calm things down while Raoul gets more aggressive. Inside, Meg risks opening the door and runs to her room to get her phone. The men hear the noise and rushes towards the room, but she luckily gets back in before they could reach her. They figured that she got her cell phone, and as they panic, Burnham assures them that there will be no signal. Meg searches for signal but does not find any. She locates the other line's cables and taps into the main phone line. She manages to reconnect it temporarily and dials her ex-husband, Stephen. Stephen answers, but before Meg can explain everything, Burnham cuts the house's main phone line from the outside. The call drops. Stephen, however, had called the police. Inside, Meg grows more anxious. Sarah starts to show signs of physical distress. Meg checks on her and realizes her daughter is entering the early stages of a diabetic episode. Sarah's glucagon kit is in her bedroom, outside the panic room. Outside, Junior reveals there is more money in the safe inside the panic room than he originally admitted. Burnham is shocked to hear this. Junior says it's around $22 million in bearer bonds. Burnham becomes more determined. Junior, overwhelmed and panicking, announces he's leaving. He turns to go. Raoul raises his gun and shoots Junior in the head, killing him instantly. Burnham is stunned. Meg and Sarah sees this through the monitor and get scared. Stephen arrives at the house. The men ambush him, drag him inside, and beat him severely. Raoul forces Stephen in front of a camera so Meg can see him being assaulted on the monitor. Meg watches in horror as Stephen is beaten. She holds Sarah close, realizing their situation is growing more dangerous. Sarah begins convulsing. Meg checks her and sees her condition is worsening rapidly. Meg, desperate to save Sarah, decides to take the risk. She opens the door and rushes out towards Sarah's room. She grabs the glucagon kit. As she turns to head back, Burnham and Raoul push past her into the panic room, closing the steel door behind them, with Sarah still inside. Meg throws the med kit into the room at the last moment. The door closes on Raoul's hand, crushing it. Raoul screams in pain as his hand is crushed in the steel door. Burnham yells at him and pulls him away. The door is now locked with Sarah and the med kit inside. Burnham looks at Sarah, who is barely conscious. Meg demands that they help Sarah. Burnham takes the med kit. He injects her with the medication. Sarah begins to stabilize. Burnham begins to drill through the safe where the money is, and immediately police officers arrive at the front door. They ring the bell. The men freeze and check the monitors. Meg, watching from the hallway, she opens the door. The police ask if everything is okay, following up on the earlier 911 call and a neighbor complaint. Meg, aware of the danger, acts calm and composed. She says everything is fine. The officers ask a few more questions. Meg subtly tries to give clues but chooses her words carefully. Eventually, the officers, unsure but without cause, leave. Back upstairs, Burnham works on the safe inside the panic room. After several attempts, he manages to crack it. Inside the safe, Burnham finds stacks of bearer bonds. He pulls them out and counts them. He confirms it, $22 million. Sarah watches silently from the corner. Meg moves through the hallway and she picks up a sledgehammer. She uses it to take out all the security cameras, slowly and carefully making her way up toward the panic room. Burnham and Raoul prepare to leave, deciding to take Sarah with them as leverage. As they open the door and head downstairs, Stephen is seated badly injured and points a gun at them, telling them to let go of Sarah. Meg suddenly appears from the shadows. She swings the sledgehammer at Raoul, hitting him hard. He stumbles and falls over the banister, crashing down into the stairwell. Burnham runs off. Meg rushes to Sarah. Raoul slowly rises, dazed and enraged. Meg turns and sees him coming back toward them. Raoul lunges at Meg and begins attacking her. He knocks her down and raises the sledgehammer. Sarah screams from behind. Burnham hears the screams. Raoul prepares to strike Meg. Burnham arrives and shoots Raoul multiple times. Raoul collapses to the floor, dead. Burnham stands still, breathing heavily. He drops the gun and runs out. Sirens wail outside. The police return in force, alerted by Meg's earlier odd behavior. They storm the house and surround Burnham. He raises his hands and surrenders. The officers arrest him. Meg and Sarah sit together, holding on to each other, exhausted but safe. Days later, Meg and Sarah sit on a park bench with a newspaper in hand. They browse the real estate section, searching for a smaller place to live.
If you enjoyed this video, please do well to like, subscribe, and comment on what movies you want us to review for you. Also, turn on the notification bell icon so you don't miss any of our videos. Thanks, and see you in the next video.